Hey, Joe here with S3 Archery, and I wanted to come to you today and I wanted to talk about the topic of the pre-shot routine. Now, there's a lot of content out there on the internet talking about the different sectors of the shot process, whether it be proper back tension or a proper release, maybe instinctive archery versus gap shooting, and all those things are fantastic. But one area that seems to be overshadowed quite a bit, and in my mind is the most important aspect of the entire shot process, is the pre-shot routine. So I want to come to you today, talk about why I care about the pre-shot routine, talk about what are really, in my mind, the key components of the pre-shot routine that you need to be thinking about, and then maybe go over my pre-shot routine real quick, and then I'll conclude the video. So, pre-shot routine, what is it? Why do we care about it? Well, the first thing is, archery is nothing more than a sport of learning how to replicate the exact same thing over and over again. Now, obviously, there's a spectrum of having perfect form and having improper form, very bad form, and there's this big spectrum in between. But really, in the end, what really matters the most is being able to repeat the exact same thing every single time. So it doesn't matter if you have perfect form or you have very bad form. If you can equally repeat the exact same thing every single time, you're going to have the exact same results every single time. Obviously, if you have perfect form, it's easier to repeat the exact same thing every time, but theoretically, if you can repeat the same thing, you're going to be equally as good. So given that, what we want to do is we want to take as many variables as possible, and we want to try to standardize those things in our shot process so we don't have to think about them while we're actually in the process of shooting. So that's why we care about the pre-shot routine. Now, what are really the components of the pre-shot routine that in my mind we can focus on and we can knock out as variables and become better archers? First thing is the stance, second thing is the grip, and the third thing is getting your spine angle the exact same every single time. So go through each of those one by one. So the stance, obviously, is the foundation of your entire shot process. So if we constantly are changing the degree at which we're standing relative to the target, sometimes we're 45 degrees, sometimes we're perpendicular, sometimes we're 20, it's very, very hard to get the exact same bow arm replication relative to your target without having to really think about it very hard. If we can standardize our stance, and it doesn't matter if you're 45 degrees or if you're perpendicular, 20 degrees, it doesn't matter, you will get used to, when you're looking at that target, coming up the exact same way. So if you're standing, to be extreme, at an 80-degree angle relative to the target, you have to rotate your hips quite a bit to get your shoulder alignment correct relative to the target. And other people, if you're standing perpendicular to the target, there's zero shoulder turn. It's more of a lift with your arm, and those two are going to be very hard if you're going back and forth between them. You obviously need to learn to do that if you're a hunter, especially, because there'll be times that an animal comes out at different angles than you were expecting, and you need to be able to compensate and adjust for that. But when you're standing on the target line and you're practicing at the range or you're at a competition, you want to just replicate the exact same stance every single time. It's the easiest thing to replicate. There is no reason to be practicing archery and having different stances every single time, when it's the easiest thing just to look down, look at your feet, look at them relative to your target, and get that stance the exact same every single time. So that's number one, most basic, easiest, and most important. Second thing we want to do is we want to get a perfect grip. Now, some bows are easier than other bows. This here is the Bob Lee Legacy. Has a very high wristed grip, and what that means is I can just take the web of my hand and I can stick it into the grip, and it'll seat itself into the bow perfectly every single time. But if you're somebody who has a low wristed grip or a medium low wristed grip, a long bow grip, you're going to have to work with that bow a little bit more and find that perfect grip that minimizes the torque in the bow. And when you find that, you want to replicate that every single time. And it's something that you consciously want to be thinking about. You don't want to just grab the bow and shoot it. You want to consciously think about, what does it feel like to hold this bow in the right way, and then replicate that shot after shot after shot. And then you know when you're missing left and right, it's not because you're torquing the bow, because you have the exact same grip every time. So we get our stance down, we find the perfect grip, and then third, we want to get that spine angle the exact same every time. So by doing that, what we're doing, if we have the exact same spine angle every time, is we're having the exact same cant angle every single time with our bow, and we're minimizing that torque in the limb tips. So if we were somebody and we like to have our natural cant, let's say it's this degree of cant, sometimes our spine is bent like this, sometimes it's straight up and down. Our wrist is rotating with our spine, but if the bow isn't changing in relation with our spine, we're going to start torquing the limb tips. So by getting the exact same spine angle every single time, and then having the exact same cant every single time, we're going to minimize that torque in our bow. So those are really the three really important components in my mind of the pre-shot routine that we can control shot after shot. We can take those variables and put them aside when we're in our shot process, actually, because we know that they're perfect. So I think if you implement those three components of your pre-shot routine, you're going to see results very, very quickly. With that, I'll just go over my pre-shot routine real quick and what goes through my mind as I'm getting ready for a shot. And then let's just wrap up the video. As always, just post comments underneath the video and let me know if this helped or not. So my pre-shot routine, obviously I'm going to acquire the target, see what I'm trying to aim at. And then the first thing I do is I get perpendicular to the target. For me, it's much easier to replicate getting perpendicular to the target than it is to try to figure out, especially in the woods where there's leaves and everything on the ground, to try to replicate 20 degrees. I don't really know what 20 degrees is every single time. I do on a target line when there's a line on the ground and I can replicate that, but when you're in the woods, it's very hard to find 20 degrees. So what I do is I get perpendicular to that target, and then I'll flare out my front foot just to get slightly open to the target. So once I get that stance down, take out my arrow, and I make sure that I knock it on the bow correctly. And that's a pretty easy step, but make sure that that's perfect. You don't want it to be half knocked or knocked slightly below the knock set. So get that right. Next thing I do is I get that perfect grip. I kind of will see it. You'll see in a lot of my videos. I'll kind of play with my fingers and I'll find that comfort zone with that grip where I know I've repeated it the exact same every single shot. Once I get that grip down, I'll acquire my target and link up with it, and then I'll get into that crouch position to get that spine angle. So that's really my shot process. I'll do it one more time without talking really. And that's it. Simple as that. You can see it going through my head. Get the stance down. Once I get that, check it off the list, move on. Get that grip down. Once I get that, check it off the list, move on. Get that spine angle down. Once I get that done, check it off the list, and it's go time. It's time to go into my shot process. So hopefully that helps you all. I encourage you all to at least try it, even if you're not buying into it 100%. If you're somebody who really doesn't want to get too structured, you know, and you're kind of going to resist it, just try it. Try it for a couple days. See if your results get much better in archery. And otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic spring. Turkey hunting is right around the corner, and hopefully you have some great results with that. And until next time, shoot straight, have fun out there.